There we go. It'll fade it. Hey, what's going on, guys? So I promised you that there would be a review out for one of the upcoming movies that came out on Christmas, and today's review is going to be on Wonder Woman 1984. This was directed by Patty Jenkins yet again, and it was actually co-written by her at this time, and it stars Gal Gadot back at the lead role as Wonder Woman. It stars Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Pedro Pascal as an evil villain, and Kristen Wiig as well. Now, first things first, what I want to get off the chest at the beginning of this review is I actually really loved Wonder Woman, the first one. The first one I thought is probably the best DC movie that has been put out since Dark Knight Rises. And even then, Dark Knight Rises, I think, is slightly worse than the two before that. But it's better than Batman v Superman. It's better than Suicide Squad. I think it's better than Aquaman and Shazam, but those are probably my other two that are the best out of the entire DCEU. But yeah, so I was really looking forward to this movie, and I sat there and I was watching it, and right after the movie, actually not even after the movie, during the movie, halfway through, I was kind of like, uh, that's it? Like, this is what we're getting? The biggest problem with this movie is that there's so many things that's wrong with the movie that I can't spoil for you, which is this is gonna be me trying to dance around the plot and hopefully give you an in-depth review on this movie without spoiling much. So if you've seen the first trailer, you know a little bit more than the one that usually came out during the theaters if you've went to one, or it's the most recent one matter. So the point of this movie is Wonder Woman is in 1984. Chris Pine is back as Steve Trevor somehow. Kristen Wiig, if you've seen either trailer, she's Cheetah at one point, so she's a bad guy, and Pedro Pascal is like a rich guy. That's all shown in the trailer, so I'm not going to spoil any more than that. Although it's so the first big problem with this movie is its pace is kind of slow. It's a little too slow for a superhero movie, or at least in the sense of there's not much happening in this movie after a while. Like Spider-Man 2, I say is worse than Spider-Man 1 in the Sam Raimi trilogy because it is too slow. However, I recognize that it is a better movie than the first one because of the character development and the meaning behind it, even though you don't see Spider-Man for a good majority of the movie, but you care. This movie is the same way, as in there's not a lot of Wonder Woman in it for a good majority of the movie, actually, but I didn't care, really. Now, the other thing is that it also introduces Chris Pine again as Steve Trevor, and it's just when it happens, and it's really confusing. It's really sloppy in a sense, and that's the biggest problem with this movie. Is the script is really sloppy, and I'm really trying not to spoil anything with this, but trust me, like the script is not as tight as it could be. Kristen Wiig, she's fine. I think a lot of people have an issue with the trope that she's like this nerdy girl or whatever that suddenly becomes, powerful, but I don't know. I thought it was fine for the majority of it. Pedro Pascal is the only other one that I'm kind of weary about. Like, I think he does it a little looser than it probably should have been, but he's trying to have fun with it. But I think they could have probably honed it down a little bit better with him. He didn't really. It's not that his character didn't sell it for me. It's just maybe that's poor phrasing. He didn't sell the character based on his acting. I think the script doesn't sell the character. That's the whole problem with this movie. Uh, Special effects are pretty good for the most part up until the end. It gets a little CGI heavy, and yeah, it's just kind of hodgepodge of a mess at times. Um, it's there's really nothing more I can say about this movie. There's so many plot holes that arise from the script, and hell, I might have to make a spoiler video to really go in depth, but trust me, the acting is pretty good or to okay for the most part. The CG is pretty good for the majority, and if you know me, one thing I care about more than anything else in a movie is the script and the storytelling. And I felt like this movie really disappointed in that aspect, and I can't really give it that benefit of a doubt at times just because everything looks pretty. I mean, Rogue One looked pretty, but is the story actually good in Rogue One? That's just how I feel. So with the ranking of this movie, I think I'm going to give this movie 2.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like that sounds kind of low. I've been trying to wrestle with that rating for a little bit, but I think that's just the best that I can give right now. So there might be a spoiler video on this. I might have to actually make a spoiler video on this just to really get in depth on how awful some of the plot holes are. But yeah, this is one of the bigger movies I wanted to watch in 2020 and definitely did not live up to the standards. So thank you guys for watching. We'll get a review out for Soul very soon. After that, we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.